Yep.
Minoru Genda. It's a bit awkward to pick him because technically he wasn't a high-ranking official, but I think he deserves to be in this place. He's one of the greatest aviators and innovators for the Japanese during World War II. He had an extensive career. It spans back to the early 1920s. He was top of his class. He served aboard the Akagi. He had become a fighter pilot in the late 20s, and he was a strong proponent. He was a strong proponent of air power in general, and I'd say he really pushed Japan towards modern warfare. He, of course, was the primary architect of the Pearl Harbor attack. Yamamoto had selected him. But even before that, he was actually rather famous for something that was known as Genda's Flying Circus. It was a team consisting of himself, Yoshida Kobayashi, Motoharu Okimaru, amongst many others, and they were using the Nakajima A2N Type 90 fighters at the time. And it was basically like a public relations campaign for the Japanese public to promote naval aviation, to try to to push the limits of the aircraft, but also to fish out those that might join on to become aviation experts themselves. And it was fantastic. It really created the veterans that we'll see who will be in the Keto Battalion, mind you. And yeah, no, he was in the best group of aviators in Japan at the time. Prior to Pearl Harbor, he, like most naval strategists, believed in single carrier raids against enemy targets. So basically, the doctrine before the Pearl Harbor attack was these carriers kind of were just supporting surface ships. They provided cap, against bombers and stuff. But when Yamamoto asked Genda if he would plan this major attack, Genda kind of was one of the few people who had the foresight to understand what it could be like for a concentrated air raid, using multiple carriers. And he urged the pre-war leadership not to build any more battleships, but instead to focus on carriers, submarines, and faster cruisers and such. But he was a captain at the time, so he had very little influence. He was sent to Germany as a military attaché, and he got to witness the Battle of Britain. It's actually famous, his words about what he saw. He actually was very unimpressed by both the Germans and the British, and he was kind of a dick about it, to be honest. He said a lot of shit. But he assessed the RAF Hawker Hurricane and the Spitfire, as well as the Messerschmitt Bf, 109. And he said, to be frank, he said they were shit. And he thought that the A6M Zero fighter, which was brand new at the time, just coming in, he said that it greatly outmaneuvered them. But I think he kind of overlooked the fact that, the A6M Zero fighter had a ton of weaknesses, like a lack of any armor. So while, yes, in the hands of a veteran Japanese pilot, and we're talking like 1941, yeah, sure, you can maybe argue, yeah, the A6M has the advantage, but you're relying on the pilot, not the vehicle at that point. Yamamoto famously added him to the Pearl Harbor team, and Genda was kind of the largest guy in the room as far as the planning is considered. He favored a three-wave attack using six aircraft carriers. It would actually be two waves in the end. He was responsible for the training of the flight crews, and he was the guy that pioneered the new tactic of using shallow water torpedoes and level bombing in to be done simultaneously so that they could hit the shipping at Pearl Harbor. And he also played a key role in persuading Mitsuo Fuchida to be the leader of the attack, who is somebody who could be on this list as well, but again, a low-ranking guy. And I didn't put Mitsuo Fuchida because he's a liar. He lied about so much things, and a lot of people attribute a lot of like he was a great aviator. Don't get me wrong, but he kind of lied through his teeth after the war, and he made up a lot of stuff.
I'm just gonna say, I think this is just a first since everyone we put in our list are like, if you were to put it in the US parlance, a three-star general at the minimum.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But when it comes to Japan, if you were to put like it by like let's say the stars, I would be choosing one of the many commanders in the army because otherwise it's just an average admiral who happens to be using an aircraft carrier. And I just thought I really wanted to pick an actual aviator in this case. I do have someone in mind for the Imperial Japanese Army. Mind you, most of them are idiots. Like there's not there's not really a gleaming gem there. But just to finish off Genda, he definitely served a distinction. He flew more than 3,000 flight hours. He served on multiple carriers. He performed actions, Indian Ocean raid at the Battle of Midway, the Solomon Islands campaign. He was part of the staff of the 11th Air Fleet at Rabaul. He rose through the ranks, and he was going to be the guy overseeing a elite Japanese air unit at the war's end to counter Allied raids against, Japan for the home islands. And
It
he
just feels
would,
like Richthofen's
yeah,
squadron.
kind of, yeah. And I mean, I would argue, he's one of the greatest, definitely. But because you had mentioned before, if we were going to go by rankings, an honorable mention would be Takeo Yusada. So he was on the Imperial Japanese Army's Air Force, and he definitely outranked him. He was lieutenant general. Um, he specialized in electrical engineering. This guy was very gifted. He was a very intelligent guy, which is surprising that he was in the Imperial Army, to be honest, because a bunch of idiots are in there. But he went to Germany for training, and specifically in signaling and artillery. 1937, he found himself just tossed into the Army Aeronautical Technical Research Institute. He had no background in aviation, but he became very interested in nuclear physics back then. So specifically nuclear fission energy. And he basically was the guy that pushed for a nuclear weapons program. And although the program was really limited and because it was constrained by the war and resources, he was one of the guys that was part of it. So I thought I would add him just simply because of that, because there was this whole nuclear program in Japan, and they got pretty far into it. But again, they would have never come up with a bomb for years until after World War II. Regardless, by 1942, he was the commander of the first IGA Army Air Army, and he was the head of the Army Aeronautical Department, and he was the Inspector General of Aviation. So while he wasn't a great aviator per se, he was known to be an extremely intelligent guy, and he had great administrative skills, and he could oversee a lot in the Japanese Army. He would be relieved of duty by 1944. He was also a strong proponent of kamikaze, which something I would say was a little bit of a besmirching on his character. But he became a member of the Supreme War Council, and he would return later on to command the IJA First Air Army, preparing for the Allied invasion of the home islands. He would improve a lot of the air doctrine and tactics for the Army Air Force, but again, the Japanese Army Air Force was not great by any means. So yeah, just only so much you could do. But I would put him as an honorable mention, just to say that. And
That's fair.
let me pull up a picture for the worst